Hey guys, we're back. The Two Dads Review crew is here. We are ready to talk about American Horror Story and Star Trek Discovery. We're going to be super excited about American Horror Story, Corey. Ready to just get going with it here in a second.
I literally have my dick mask on right now just to be excited.
The triple dick mask, the best part of the show. Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in again this week for the weekly Two Dads Review podcast. Remember, you can always head over to the twodadsreview.com, or excuse me, not I don't know what I'm doing today. It's already a long night. All the kids are asleep. I've got whatever cold they all gave me because they're just little tiny petri dishes.
That's the truth.
And it did not make my voice sound sexier, which is a letdown. I'm sorry to all of you who have to listen to me gargle my way through this. But yeah, so head on over to twodadsreview.com. You can check us out there, like, share, subscribe, do all this stuff. Wherever you listen to us, you can find links there to, us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn. You can even go over to YouTube and look us up. Just Google us. You'll find us. Before we get too started, Corey, we wanted to talk about some friends, some people that we know out in the internets.
Yeah, man. Internet buds for life.
That's right. So, we want everybody now that you found us, you can push pause, and I want you guys to go over to popvultures.xyz because they pulled the no .coms for these guys. We're .xyz, which is just pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we're better, we're sweet, we're awesome, we're the Pop Vultures. You need to listen to us and our totally amazing movie reviews. Like, they break them down, they give you sweet inside information. They have an actual insight to a lot of these films, and
a couple of these guys have been behind the camera, in front of the camera, yes. Which they apparently don't like to talk about that portion, but they know movies a lot better than me Googling Dolly Zoom.
Yeah, right? Seriously, whatever IMDb's got, these guys are better. That's
exactly.
That's
and it's not just old movies. It's not just new movies. It's a little bit of combo of each. So you want to tune in there to hear some stuff about Raiders of the Lost Ark or The Goonies. I know you guys have watched me retweet their stuff here and there. Just head on over there. Give them some love. What's their Twitter handle, Corey?
It's at the Pop Vultures, and that'll take you to them. And then from there, you can listen to pretty much everything they have. They have really good interviews. They have movie, breakdowns like we were just talking about.
And they have what we can't give you, and that's short little scrap episodes as well, because all you get from us are like hour to 3 hour shows. Sorry.
Yeah, we're here for bleeding ear entertainment, and they do a little bit of everything. It's pretty sweet. Like, I wish we had almost a little more time and better intro music.
Yeah, we don't have. I have not done the research on fair use, therefore I don't know what music I can use, and that's why we don't have music. But they have music, which makes them awesome already. So, Pop Vultures, we love you guys, and we'll keep checking you guys out. Okay, so we've come to the point where you who are staying on for the American Horror Story review, just hang on and we will pick that right up. And if you are here for the Star Trek Discovery Episode 3 review only, go ahead and jump to about the 54-minute mark. We'll see you guys over there. So, let's just start with American Horror Story, Corey. Let's just get into this right now.
Okay.
Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, man, I'm here for it.
All right, man.
I mean, I'm here for it because I told you I would be.
Well, this episode's title is Holes, which is great. Look, I want to. I feel like we huff and puff so hard the first half of this show, and anybody who's just tuning in to listen to us, like, we are not non-fans of American Horror Story, the franchise.
Yeah, the franchise is awesome. This season is just, it's bending me over, and it's giving me a spanking, and I don't like anything about it, man.
They didn't even put a GIMP mask on you to do it.
Yeah.
Look, I keep saying this every week, but I think that the other seasons, at least their plot arcs have already been written, and they were starting to work on those, and they probably had what's going to be season 8 pretty much ready to go in the bag. And then Donald Trump won the presidency, and I think they switched gears so quickly that I feel like this has been such a hurried season, and I feel like this was a big reveal, and I'm using giant air quotes for the studio audience. The big reveals this week aren't even. We've been, you and I, Corey, which we're never right. Check our Game of Thrones podcast. We're never right with our guesstimations for what's going to happen in later episodes.
I just feel the whole season was a rush job. It was like, it's almost like they hired scrub writers for this season. They were like, okay, we're on 8 and 9. We're gonna leave the good guys over there. Let's get some fresh talent in. Maybe they could make something happen.
Yeah, I hope we're not insulting the writers that have been around for 7 seasons. But Guy, I mean, it's just
we are, and I don't want to, but I'm just talking about what I was given and what I feel on it. You know,
and you're not giving us a lot that we're super excited about. But let's dive into this episode and see if we can't figure out exactly where things went wrong. So we start with the news reporter pretty much right after, Meadows' disappearance. And her and Beverly, who is the reporter, and her boss Bob are watching it in his office, and he's wondering, he's like, stop running fake news. She's doing these pieces that are supposed to just scare people when it's just overblowing what's not really, well, what's happening, but not to the extent of what she's saying. And we find that they're not going to release the footage of his little Pop-Tart getting killed on camera. And
Pop-Tart.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know where that came from, but
no,
yeah,
that was a good one.
He goes to fire her, and she's like, well, I'll just leak that you were, fucking the help.
Yeah, basically. And then what did he say?
He's just like, get out of my office.
Yeah, that's right. He was like, just get the fuck out of my office. And she just had that big shit-eating grin on her face.
Right, like, you're not gonna do anything.
Yep,
and
you can't. We know it.
Right, so then we see the group that we know is the cult now, at least most of them, and Winter is going over her informal poll, which just means, and she just says that no one even knows the vote's going on. They don't even know what a council member does.
Yeah. She's like, basically no one pays attention to local politics at all.
Right.
So we need to maybe get their attention.
Right. And is this where he backhands that one dude, because he's like, why are we even worried about running for council anyways?
Yeah, he was like, who gives a fuck if Kai gets a seat on the council? And then Kai just basically pulls the ultimate pimp hand and just slaps the ever living shit out of that guy. Like, I thought when he,
well, we should call it the Kai hand now, because he's pretty much done it to a few folks in this season.
Right? Yeah, like he's not he doesn't punch. That dude throws some solid backhands at people.
Some wicked backhand. That's a wicked backhand.
Mm-hmm.
That guy could play some tennis.
Yeah, seriously, give him a racket, man.
And on the second watching, which was as painful as the first, because I wanted to focus on that guy who said that about why are we running. I'm like, where did the breakdown happen? Like, why does he become tied to a chair later on? And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's where he's griping about this and griping about that. Yeah,
dude, I didn't even know where he came from.
Yeah, well, we'd only seen him as the guy, and we hadn't seen him. Yeah, he's a red shirt, to use a better term for later on in the day, for the later on in the podcast. He's a red shirt. He's meant to be the one they could put down, and we don't really care too much about him.
There we go. Okay, yeah, because I was like, I feel like this guy just came out of nowhere.
All right, I mean, he was running the camera for all this stuff, but I don't know if...
Was he? I thought the first camera guy got killed.
Well, he was... What first camera guy?
Oh, no, okay, yeah, no, never mind. I was thinking the camera dude that was recording when Pop-Tart got killed.
Oh, yeah, no, I was a normal camera guy. He just happened to record it really nicely so you could see her get killed, and then he ran to help her.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then our big reveal of the meeting is Ivy walking in and being like, "Oh, I'm late. I'm sorry, I'm late. What did I miss?" And I was like, "Yay, no shit."
Oh yeah, dude. I like how they like stopped on her face And then
Ooh,
they
like
gave
you're
they gave you like a slow 2 seconds, and then they were like cut to commercial. Like, ooh.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah,
you
like,
didn't know this was coming.
I could see the guy that was like going over the script. He's like, dude, commercial break right here. That's gonna totally get everybody amped up. Where all it did was go, no shit, fuckhead.
Right, we've been saying this for 4 episodes. Like, she's the shadiest individual in the group.
Yeah, like, you said from day one, I think Ivy's in it, and I was like, I don't know.
I know.
But you nailed
I feel
it.
so vindicated.
You nailed it. I love how you actually flexed right there. I wish everybody could have seen him. He was flexing at his progress, and
That's right. I feel vindicated. I got something right on the show that's completely laying it out in front of me. Like, how could you miss that? Like, if you didn't know that was going to happen, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, dude, that thing was so just blatantly obvious. That's all you can say.
Right. So we know that the plan is to kill Bob in a most sensational way. That was the end of the meeting, was them just deciding to kill Bob. Especially since we find out, or that the reporter tells them that he's starting to be in on her, how she's scooping these stories so quickly. Yeah. So he's got to go. Time to see you later, Bob. So yeah, you're right. Then we cut to a tense commercial where I'm like, oh, Ivy's in the group, and I was really hung on it for like 3. So yeah, so we're
yeah.
We pick back up on Allie, and our complaints about her cry face in episode 1 really seem minor now compared to all of our bitches and moans about this season. In fact, she's a breath of fresh air when I see her on the screen now. I'm like, dude, Allie, I was like, Sarah Paulson, you're fantastic. And I don't know. I'm sorry, baby. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'll just watch you when you come on. I will tell you though, for the episode so far, this was my cringiest episode, starting with this scene when she's dreaming about the holes in her neck and the bugs crawling in and out of them. I was like, and I feel bugs on me. Like they're on me.
Really, man?
Yeah, I can't. I would much rather watch them stab gimps for an hour straight than like watch bugs crawl in and out of skin holes. Well, like I'm not.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. That one is
tearing skin and stabbing naked gimped guys. Like I can't. Nope, I can't. Like I couldn't do it. But so there was at least a little bit of a cringe factor for me this episode.
Yeah, no, I mean there's definitely been some good visual shit of like, oh, what the hell? But there's nothing else to it. Like I feel like this is an Alice Cooper concert without Alice Cooper. Like it's all just the stage shit, and it all looks cool, and then he just never comes out.
Like, wait, wasn't Alice supposed to be here?
Yeah, right. You're like I was just here for an hour and a half, and he never showed. God, what? Damn it! Yeah, right. that sums this season up.
Right, and so we find out that Ivy has left with Oz, and Allie she's all this talking about her dream is she's fine. She scratched her neck raw in her dream, and while she was sleeping, of course she's talking to the creepy psychiatrist, who's definitely not in on it still. I'm sure he's perfectly legit. I'm sure there won't be a big giant reveal at the end of the episode to say that he's part of the cult in some deep and meaningful way as well. I mean, that can't happen.
He won't be related to anybody else on the cast.
Not at all, right? It's not obvious. It's not obvious that he's nearly involved. It's not like we've been saying it for 4 weeks straight. Like, I wonder, do they count my downloads after they've listened to the whole thing or when they just download it? Because I know folks are just like, fuck this guy. Yeah, like, I'm turning this shit off. And I know the pop vultures like, thank God they did this at the beginning of the fucking episode because they're losing like, people left and right now.
Man, yeah,
whoa, boy, what did we tie ourselves to? Right. So we find out a few things about Ivy and Oz. So we know they're living in a hotel. We know that Allie has supervised visitation, but if I'm not mistaken, supervised visitation requires like can we at least Google this when we write the script? Like, rarely is the other parent the supervisor of the visitation. Like, that never happens. It's usually a CPS person who sits next to you and stares at you the whole time. I've seen it on other TV shows. I'm sure they did some research. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just, her visitation is like going to the to the restaurant, and Ivy's there staring at her from across the room while she talks to Oz. Like she can't even relate to him anymore. She's trying to bring up, stuff from the past that makes him, cool stories from when he was a kid, and he just doesn't know what to do with himself. Poor kid.
Yeah, he's just like, Mom, you're acting weird. And then she just kind of locks up again. Like,
right.
Okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then you have Mom number 2 just staring at her over there. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was a supervision person there in the show, and they just didn't show it. But you're right. Like,
but the other parent usually isn't there. But
yeah, that's true. The other parent is usually like, they're like, you got to go make yourself busy, get out of here. And then there's a protective service person basically watching everything that is happening.
Exactly. And then we get another flashback to like a year, like September 2016, which is pretty much a year ago. When Ivy's going over the books and Allie's like being all sexy with her and trying to make the moves on her because she sees that Ivy's all stressed out. And I'm guessing Ivy's already part of the cult by now because it's before the election, but not too far before. And we know that she was in there before the election. But like she like gives her a dildo. It's actually not a dildo. They say a dildo in the description that I was reading, but it's not a dildo. It's a different sex toy. But we're not going into that in this podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
This isn't family friendly, but we're not doing.
I'm gonna hold back my knowledge of sex toys.
Right, we're not doing our sex toy breakdown.
Yeah,
that's a different episode. Who else we lose in that one? Who just dropped off? Okay, good. Next, all right.
Yeah, was that a door shutting, phone hanging up?
Oh, great. So, and it's really weird because like the first scene we see of them in the very beginning of the season is like Ivy giving Allie shit for not doing anything sexual, but we literally watch her shut her down. So we know why Ivy doesn't do her part really well in this past year in the cult. Really, she's not doing it real well. She's not playing the role she's meant to be playing very well. She's very distant. She's very bitchy all the time. It's just like, good God. Like, of course we saw that you're in the cult. Like, you're giving it away. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, like, normally, and plus, too, like, I feel like in a cult, because I watched The Following with Kevin Bacon, and that was the show that helped me get over Kevin Bacon from Sleepers.
Yay.
I know
That's
we referenced that before, but I have to bring it up because
you can't just give Kevin Bacon love anytime you talk about him. You have to make sure everyone knows that you hated him for a long, long time. For much of your teens and your 20s, you hated him for a long, long time.
So the fact that I like this man means The Following was a fantastic show. But even in that show, the one thing they did that was really cool, the person that was supposed to be like the handler of their target had been in the cult basically from day one. Because if you're going to go sit there and be like, hey, you're going to go have to pretend to be a lover to this person and be their everything and, do yada, 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 you got to really be into it. Like, I don't think you can just be married to a person then one day go, I really hate him. You know what? Joining this cult and terrorizing her is going to be the way to go.
That sounds like a fun plan. Let's do that for a while.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
That's not how cults work.
No,
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. We talked about this before we started recording. Let's go ahead and get into this real quick. You can't build the kind of following that Kai theoretically has right now with this group in a matter of months. Even if he handpicks his people at the depths of their end of their rope, at the bottom of the barrel, at the bottom, hit rock bottom, any of those terms for being at the worst part of your life, it takes a long time to get someone to turn to do stuff like that, to take it on and continue to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of brainwashing that goes on.
And brainwashing just by human nature takes forever. Yeah. So it's not even realistic that these folks are following him to the extent that they are, because he doesn't even, like, world domination is not, that's like a bumper sticker. That's not even like they don't have a real goal to go to. They just have world domination, cause chaos. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, that no one's driving for anything.
Yeah. I don't know what, I mean, I don't know, maybe their end goal is, you know, like Fight Club, just destroy everything, like total anarchy. But like
but they're not doing that.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, obviously because they're starting small. Like that's the whole thing. They're like, because Kai even said it, the only office available is a city council spot. So he's like, that's where we have to start.
Right. And I agree with you there, but my problem is with the show that we are given. We're on episode, what, 5? Are we on 5? 6?
Yeah, 5.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
crap.
5.
How do I not know this? 5. Okay. We only have 5 more episodes. Is it a 10-episode season? So, you know, if you want to show me everything getting to his goal, you got a little bit of time. You don't have a lot of time left to get me there. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to keep picking up one episode right where the last one left off, and we had a flashback episode that should have been episode 1, I mean, you don't have the time to tell me the whole story. If you're going to get me to this end goal that he has, this vision, if you're going to show him succeeding in this vision, you know?
Yeah, you know, I totally agree. And plus, how do you explain that a person he just met, like, let's use the reporter, you know, he basically met her, you know, did a spiel and then was like, okay, I'll see you in 2 days. And granted, I know he killed like her competition for her to prove it, but still, man, like,
well,
that level
of all the people, I don't agree with you here because of all the ones that were ready to turn at a moment's notice. She was it because she was to the point where she was about to walk in there and start spraying bullets all over the place just by herself. She was there because of everything that was going on. Like, she was already at her limit. I don't think anybody else was at their limit.
Yeah, maybe the only other person I see, you know, quickly going is our workout buddy.
Yeah, because he already regrets half his life anyways, and so he's just looking for something.
He's already a broken man.
He's having, truth be told, he's having more fun in this than anybody else is.
He is, dude. It's like
like fun.
Yeah, he's not there for the terror. He's there for the entertainment.
Right. I mean, he takes full advantage of that nail gun later on in the episode.
Oh yeah, dude. He just like
let me grab your head and put that shit right in between your eyes.
Yeah, he takes it out of her hand like, hey, I know what I'm doing, man. Get off this beginner.
Well, and I still love this. I'd love to know how much of his, because you told me a long time ago on this podcast that he was a comedian because I didn't really know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you that half of his stuff is ad-libbed. Like when he's like, you got to put it against his head. You got to pull it right against his head for it to work. Like when it was all tense and she was all like getting all teary and she's like,
oh yeah, dude.
You know that shit's ad-libbed.
Yeah. All it says in the script is like, say whatever you want within limits. And so that is just there so the other actors know that at a moment's notice he's going to say something.
Something's coming out of my mouth and you're going to have to stifle a laugh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, we're getting carried away. Let's get back into the episode real quick. After the visit with Oz by Allie, Ivy and Winter are driving to kill Bob, the Kill Bob party, we're going to call it. And we know that Oz is having a sleepover at a school buddy's house in the middle of the week, so he's having a good old time. And so they go through their little pre-kill briefing in the parking lot. He's like, I do love the attention that they have Kai play to things. Like he's like, here, use this phone. It has the best rating for low light photography. I'm like, that's kind of like, there's a few things I'm like, okay, that's cool because he would do that. Like that character, he would do that.
Oh yeah. Evan Peters deserves an award for Kai this season. Like I don't care what it is because he's playing this dude to a T. It is awesome. And
but for the writing, with the, I mean, unless he ad-libbed that. For the writing, I'll give them that. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, because Kai would have researched that stuff to make sure it was perfect when it comes to filming in the darkness.
And that's the problem with this season is, like, sometimes stuff like that where it's small, but it's good. Like, his character would say something like that. His character would pay attention to the detail like that, especially if his character is as smart as he said he was. You know, he's gonna do that. And like where he talked about Latin, he's like just Latin sounds inherently scary.
Right. Okay. And let's look, we to all the American Horror Story writers who listen to our podcast, because I know you're out there. We know you guys are good at what you do, and we know that you were rushed by the powers that be. Who knows? It may not even have been it may have been FX who was like, no, we want something to do with the election this season. We have one shot at this. Do it, or you're not getting season 8 and 9. They're like, okay, we have to because money. And you know, I would understand that. I almost wish somebody would come out and tell us the behind the scenes of this episode of this season.
Yeah, I really wish like one of the main writers would just like speak up and just be like, sorry, this is what happened. You know, like this is why we are where we are.
Right. So yeah, because we don't want to, like I said, we said at the beginning, we don't want people to think that we don't like this show, that we don't respect the writers, because there have been fantastic seasons of this show. Well, there have been less than fantastic seasons.
Moments in this show. In this season. It's just the whole coherent beginning to end just doesn't make sense.
Right. It just seems rushed. It's good writers rushing their work, which shouldn't be, that's sad it had to happen that way.
Yeah,
it really is.
It was basically like they said, okay, Monday through Thursday, we're just going to put as much on paper as we can. And then Friday, we're going to edit it. And, and that was like, okay, that made it. Nope, gone. Like, we don't have time for that. Get rid of this, white line, red line. It was just.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't in the room. I have no idea what happened.
No one asked us.
Yeah.
No one called us for information on this.
At no point did I get a call from FX or anyone, if any powers that be, that said, hey, man, does this feel rushed to you?
Right, because truthfully, if FX called me, I'd be like, bring back the league. That's all you need to do is bring the league back.
Yeah, and yes. Yeah, I'd just be like, whatever, dude. As long as fantasy football's around, you need this show.
Right, exactly. When football dies, the league can die. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Reboot it. I don't care. Yeah, just leave.
When Trump gets every NFL player actually fired,
then you can stop the league.
Then you can stop making the league.
All right, so let's get into Bob's murder. Okay, so if you're gonna lick off what's on your gloves, why the fuck are you wearing gloves in the first place? Bob is coming down this. Dude, I know. I let that pause happen, and I'm not going to cut that pause out of the podcast because I sat there and looked at my television, and I was like, whatever's on his glove, he's licking off. But he's wearing a glove, but he's licking it off. I don't. What's going on? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I think it was there just to like make it look cool. Like. I don't know, dude. It's inherently cool seeing someone pull off like latex gloves, not knowing what they're doing with blood on them.
As he look, I was like, okay. I was like, well, good, you can die now, Bob, because that's gross. Like that's your logic fails me, therefore you can die.
Yeah, you can take whatever diseases you just got and die.
Right. Yeah. So, the clowns amass. They crack him in the head, and then after he's done, go ahead.
Did they crack him in the head? I thought they
with a pipe. No, we're not getting to the axe yet. Man, don't jump the gun on me.
Sorry, dude.
Like they beat him in the head with a pipe when he's in his kitchen, and then he gets up when he sees a clown mask, and then he starts freaking out, and then he goes, what does he say? He says he's upstairs. No one will find him. No one will.
No, he said no one will take care of it. Like he doesn't say him, her, anything. He says it.
No one will take care of it, meaning if you kill me, what's upstairs is going to die.
Yes.
Because no one's here to take care of it.
Yes.
Right. Because he would call it because it's a domination, submissive. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That's why he said it. So, yeah. So they tie him up. They're amazed by what he says. They're like, oh, Okay, we're not going to kill you quite yet. Tape him up. Let's go upstairs. See what's upstairs. This is going to be fun. And they find a guy.
Upstairs.
Yeah, they find a guy upstairs hanging from flesh hooks. And completely sensory deprived, so he can't hear, he can't see. And then, of course, so camera guy jumps in and says, "He can't. Why mess him? He can't even hear it. Let's just cut him down and let him go."
Yeah, that was his mistake.
Yeah, that was your mistake, buddy. That's nail gun to the head for you, sir.
Yeah, so Kai basically like looks at everyone and is like, "What the hell? We're here to do something."
And then he just, like, stabbing is bad enough, but ripping hooks out of your flesh, that's where I cringed again. I was like, stabbing wasn't the bad part, it was like the flesh ripping. I was like, oh,
yeah.
man.
When he got stabbed and then he started like flipping out and all the hooks ripped out of him except for a few, man, that was rough.
Rough.
That was when I was like scratching my stomach, going like,
yeah, and then like
that's so gross. It's so gross.
Did Kai like knee his knife further into him when he hung sideways? I think he kneed the knife into him.
No, I think he pulled it out and like stabbed him again, but it was just like he held it like at his hip and just it was like one of those like full body like lunges into it.
Yeah, so he's dead, and then
they bring Bobby upstairs. Because he wasn't
Bob's
up there
upstairs
all the way.
Yeah,
right?
and he sees the gimp. After. Yeah, because he sees the gimp dead and like collapses, like he feels
he starts crying basically.
Yeah, and
which I don't know if those tears were for the gimp because he lost his toy, or if he was like then genuinely scared because the gimp died and he was like, oh shit.
It's probably a little bit of both. I would say more towards the gimp. I'm pretty sure he's so
there's some kind of intense connection there.
I would go with that. And then they take turns stabbing him but not killing him, and then they give Beverly the final blow, and she makes sure to A, get the camera off her face, and B, she shows Bob her face, and then he just like he sees her and just you could see him just lose it.
Yeah, that's when he just like starts flipping out knowing that it's all over.
Yep, and then she friggin' axes him in the head.
Yep,
nice
hatchet.
Blood, little hatchet head, little blood a little whole bunch of blood everywhere. So a lot of good gore this episode. Just it's just gore. Okay.
Yeah, there was your shock value, blood.
Yeah, woo. So
yeah.
So Beverly. So to move on, unless you have anything else about the murder that you want to talk about.
Well, in the murder you have Ivy disappearing. Like,
that's right. She runs off and vomits.
She's gone and thrown up in the bathroom.
But later on, Beverly stands up for her because Kai thinks she's weak, and Beverly's like, "That's her first time at the dance, baby. Like she's gonna lose it the first time." Yeah.
Because I think Kai at that point was just looking to kill somebody.
Exactly. And Beverly was trying to. Beverly was planning it in his head anyways to having to cut one from the herd, the weak one, to make everybody snap back in line.
Yeah, because what did she say? Like, you got to cut the fat or something like that?
Yeah, trim the fat or something like that, exactly. So let's see, what happens next? So Beverly, of course, is on the scene first to report the murder of her coworker.
Yeah. If that's not a dead giveaway.
Right, exactly. Like, who is not seeing this in this town? This is the town of the dumbest fucking people in the world. Yeah. It really is.
And okay, think about all of the reporting scenes real quick. Have you seen Cops?
We see flashing lights, and we see, I don't think there's a lot of extras going around right now, man. They're not hiring a lot of...
No, I just was trying to think about it's like in the beheading, I remember there's cops because they found the body. But I'm saying like in all the scenes with the reporting, all I ever see is some truck with flashing lights that usually looks like a reporting truck, and then her. Like I'm always like, this place would just be covered in tape. There would be cops everywhere with something like this.
Yeah, we usually were there by the time the truck is hauling the body out of the house and heading out of there. So I mean, it is, Quit nitpicking at the show, Corey.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Why are you focusing on how many cops are in the scene behind her? And then, so to move on from her news report, then that's when she is in the restaurant with Kai, and she goes over what we were talking about. She goes over. She also goes over the story of when they set the coffins up, and how much the guy was. What is this guy's name?
I don't know, dude. Extra dead guy.
RJ. There we go. RJ is the guy's name. I see it later on in my notes. So she recalls during the coffin, the white coffin for the people who are afraid of coffins, or the lady who is afraid of coffins. When they finally locked them all in there, he was like, "We should let them out. This is really weird, and we shouldn't do this." And then, so she tells that story to Kai as well, or recalls it to him, one or the other. Maybe he wasn't in the room, but she tells him, "You need to, bring this guy to justice, and then it'll make the rest of the cult members snap back in line, and they're never gonna doubt you again, nor go against you again, because they know it's gonna happen."
Yeah, they were basically like, everyone will truly, truly understand after this.
Exactly. So after that, we, let's see. Oh, Allie. Oh, this is the whole, Meadow scene with Allie. So Allie's in her house by herself. She sees Harrison pull up into his house. He pulls a big bag out of his Jeep, lays it on the ground. She looks at it with the telescope. She sees him and his boyfriend cop buddy from the cult making out in the house. So she goes over to investigate, and she finds a hole, which of course she has to approach very cautiously because she hates holes. And Meadow's in there, and Meadow wakes up and she's like, "Help me!" And then we cut to commercial.
Yeah.
And then Allie does the smartest thing she's done the entire season, which is to run back to her goddamn house, lock the door, and call the cops, which of course at this point 911 is busy, but I'm pretty sure it's her phone has been rerouted to some call center that Kai has set up. So
yeah,
she
has
dials,
to, man. I feel like they just got on it. Everything with her, Kai has 100% taken care of. He's got her all Big Brother style, eyes on her every time. What's going on? And I don't know why. I don't understand why she's important.
Like I said before we were recording, which no one has heard this yet, I don't think, is I don't think she's their main focus. She is one of the focuses of the cult, but she is a step. One of the people that just like I thought earlier that the coffin folks were kind of in their same wheelhouse. We know this lady's afraid of coffins. Oh, because the guy's feeding it to them. Duh. The therapist is feeding them these victims. The therapist is like, "Hey, this address, this lady hates being in coffins. So you want to scare her to death and kill her? Do it with coffins. This lady hates holes."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
She hates clowns as well. So we know that the therapist is feeding the information to Kai of who to target and how to target them best. So Allie is a target, but I think she just has bad luck. Maybe 911 was busy that night because it's the same night as Bob's murder, or the next day of Bob's murder, or the next night after Bob's murder. So everybody's seeing clowns everywhere in their head, kind of like this time last year when there was a whole clown epidemic across the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. Just
when as a parent, because our show's called Two Dads Review. As a parent, I got an email last year from the school, an official email that says, something to the effect of, while there have been reports recently, the sheriff's department has confirmed that there have been no official clown sightings. I'm like, this is an official email from the school telling me there have been no clowns. I was like, where am I living right now?
You're like, I need to move to the country, and I already live close to the country. But
right, a country, but not near a country that has a fairground for clowns to be at.
Yeah, apparently.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
No, none of that country where the carnies visit. So she's run back in the house. She's called the cops, or she's called 911. It doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, Meadow, she hears banging on her front door, and she's called Ivy, who is like, what's wrong? You're crazy. Why are you calling me? And she's like, they're at the house. They're going to kill me. It's Harrison. They're going to kill me. Meadow's in a hole in the back of their house. And all of a sudden Meadow's at the window, banging. So she was the one who's trying to escape. And then Meadow spills the entire beans to her, which makes me, I don't know if it's a setup or not. I don't know if it's all an act. I don't know if she really is really going to be killed shortly, or if it's all a setup that they're choosing to reveal all of these details to her to scare her more, to be, oh God, now you had this whole cult who's after you.
Yeah, probably. I think it's more of a setup because I don't think she can like, I mean, I think if they kill her, they're just taking out too many people in the dang cult.
Agreed. And at some point, you can't kill too many because then they all will figure out at some point that they have numbers on you and they'll just kill you.
Yeah.
Which is a very fine line as a cult leader you have to walk.
Yeah. And this doesn't appear to be like a cult leader or a cult where it's like they know that they're going to die. Like, you know, where a cult.
Yeah. Their end goal is not to drink the Kool-Aid. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Like everyone here is trying to better themselves. Like they're all trying to gain something out of this. Like, from what I've seen, read, and documented
from
in YouTube, it appears that most cults don't do that. It's like the leader gains it, and maybe the right-hand man gains a lot, but the rest of the people are just pawns. They're just there to accomplish the end goal, and you know, a lot of them seem like they'll just give it all. So
right,
and I don't think anybody in this in this season would die for Kai.
No, not at all.
Maybe,
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
Beverly?
No, actually, no. I think she would just
Harrison.
Yes.
Okay.
Harrison, I think, would die for him.
Beverly,
I think, would be like, nah, you die. I'll just pick up the pieces and take.
Yeah,
over.
I'll take this cult from you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So Allie gets all the beans spilled to her, and we actually see in the trailer for next episode that she's trying to report this cult to the authorities. You know, she's trying to explain it to everybody. It's, you know, we know that she understands and hears what she says, and she takes it away from the situation. But, you know, before she can say too much more, she gets snatched up by somebody with she's with a pillowcase. So, and she's hauled away. And I believe the actress who plays Meadow is a better actress than, I agree that I think it's all a show, because it looked like somebody who is badly acting, saying, "Oh God, please help me. They're going to kill me." Like, you're a better actress than that. We already know you are. So the fact that you're acting so horribly at the window, like the actual act of what you are saying looks so unbelievable as an actor, that I know you're a fake. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm with you. It took me.
I hope anybody
took me a
caught
minute, man.
that. Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
At the window, she was not believable in what she was saying, and I know the actress playing her is a better actress than that. So therefore, a good actress was playing a character who was acting horribly, who was badly acting her part in this cult. That's what I was going for.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
So, yeah. All right. So that happens. And then we are back with the cult at the house. And this is the scene where RJ's missing, and Winter is telling them that since the clown video aired, because Beverly showed the video of the clowns killing Bob to the public, that Kai's up 10 points in the polls. So that's good. He's going around, you know, shaking hands and kissing hands, and, you know, back rubbing his, you know, people. And he's talking about, you know, it's kind of reminiscent of the Robert De Niro scene from Untouchables, where, you know, when they're around the table and you feel like he's just about to pick the one he's going to kill, but it's actually nobody in this room. It's the guy who's already tied up in the basement.
Yeah.
So we should review that movie. We should review that movie with the Pop Vultures.
All right, we can ask him.
I don't know. We should. I want to do it.
Bring it up to him.
Untouchables is such a fantastic movie, because I want to be the one that says enthusiasms. That's the greatest part of that friggin' movie. I love that. And then he cracks the guy on the head with the baseball bat. Fantastic. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Okay. Back to RJ in the basement. Kai's up in the polls. And, you know, there's no point in going over this immensely. Everybody puts a nail in the guy's head. He's still alive. And then Kai sticks in his what? Medulla oblongata. Is that what he said? The body's on-off switch. It's the one at the base of your skull.
Yeah. So yep. I don't know about that kind of stuff.
and another props to the actor who was playing the guy who was getting nailed in the head. It was convincing. He was twitching, eyes were twitching, drooling all over the place. Just
yeah, dude, he was hanging on there strong.
Yeah, that guy was giving a convincing performance of getting nail gunned to the head. I'm not really sure what you draw from to do that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we go to the final scene, I want to bring up one more thing real fast. We're nearing the, 45 minute mark on this episode of us talking about it. The last thing that makes this cult unbelievable to me is how, and this is just a minor thing, and you may not be allowed to be mad at any of your other cult members. How is Ivy even able to be in the same room as one-armed guy? Like, they're in the same cult. Like, they're in the cult together, but it's not like Ivy was already being worked on by Winter, and this guy just happened to grab her pussy in the front of a protest, and they chained him up to the thing, and then Kai, he's something that's just like dropped in Kai's lap. He's like, oh, I can get this guy, and I hand him a saw, and he cuts his arm off. But I mean, it's just this whole, like, the fact that you have a radical right and a radical left in the same cult, and it's not creating some sort of tension. It's just, I don't get it. I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, there's nothing believable about how this cult is formed.
Right. It's not, it would be scarier if it was more realistic.
Yeah, like you could have, I don't know, told us some of this stuff at the beginning and then did episodes 2 and 3 as long flashbacks. Like, yeah, I don't know.
You could have done this.
You could have done this 100,000 different ways better.
You could have done this straight. You could have just done it chronologically, and I think it would be more effective chronologically. We wouldn't get to the alley stuff until the end of the season, but telling the story chronologically and how each person was picked, you could have delved into that a little bit more, and it would have been more believable. But the fact that you think you turned everybody in the amount of a year or a little bit over a year just doesn't ring true with everything that's going on, with the way that cults actually work. So, and we are experts in cults. I'm sure it's on our bio. I don't know. I'm sure I wrote it there somewhere. We're cult experts. So I don't know. That's us. Tweet at us. Let us know. Hey, somebody hate tweet me. If you hate tweet me, I will retweet the shit out of that. Just hate tweet me. Tell me how much you hate our opinion on this show, because it means you're at least listening to what we have to say. So hey, what are you gonna do? I don't know. Anyways, last scene. I'm sorry we shit on this show. I'm shitting on it, and I love American Horror Story, and we're shitting on it. I'm sorry. So final scene is Beverly and Kai doing the pinky game, and this is the first time we've seen somebody who's doing it with him that can actually not answer his question and then turn it around on him. And she tells him, I know you tell each person something different as your backstory, the one that'll work to get them over. And she wants to know what his real story is. And so we see his flashback to, his dad and his mom, and his dad rode motorcycles on the weekends. And he had a bad accident, and he went, he's, paraplegic, and, it's a crappy home life, and he's just graduated college. So it can't be, did they say how many years ago it was?
No,
I mean, it can't be too long because
Kai,
he just graduated college.
Yeah, and his sister was still away at college.
So we know she's finished. So it was, and the bodies have to have decomposed by now because we see that later on in the thing. So what, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. Who knows? But it wasn't that long ago. And, her dad's abusive, or his dad is abusive to his mom. She has enough, and she gut shoots him. Kai runs in, and then he watches her blow her head off. And then he calls the big reveal of the night, his brother, the therapist.
Yeah, no shit.
And this was even worse than so you mentioned earlier that they paused on Ivy's face, and they were like, now commercial. This one, they started on his shoes and worked their way up, and they're like, do you know who it is yet? We're like, fuck yeah, we know who it is. Yeah. Just get the camera up there and let's go with the story. God damn it. So it was just, okay, so his brother's a therapist. We knew he was involved. Now we know how he's involved, and it's not like it's that big of a deal. It's not what you were trying to make it. So, the brother explains to him, we can't let anybody know they've died because dad's got a pension, mom's got this, that, and the other. Mom's got a pension, dad's got the settlement from the accident or whatever, and that money's going to stop if we let them know that he's dead. So we're just going to put him in their bed, cover him in lie, and call it a day. So he mummifies his parents.
He's pretty much like, I don't care that they're dead. We need this money, so let's let's cover him in lime and throw him in bed.
Yeah, well, not even for the money. He's like, I'm not going to try to explain to every one of my new patients how why my parents killed themselves or why there was a murder-suicide for my parents. So, I mean, he's not worried about money so much for him as he is for the rest of them. And that's the way that the brother gets Kai and then Winter. Like, they're like, we'll just tell her when she comes home for holidays. She never comes anywhere but for asking for money. So when she comes home for Christmas, they're like, hey, our parents are dead. Merry Christmas. I got a ham in the oven. So let's go down and eat. And then at the very end, we see Kai like breaking down in front of Beverly, but they don't show us his face. And I feel like the way the shows have been going, we're going to pick right up where this episode left off, and he's going to raise his head and he's going to be dry-eyed and it's going to be a show because Beverly now thinks that they're like on even ground, and that's how he's going to keep her, on a leash in the cult, so I've got a feeling this is all, I mean, the story may be true, but Kai doesn't have emotion like this. Like, he's just not going to have it. Especially not in front of one of his members.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see next week because we're going to watch again next week and the week after until the show is over. So, hey, what can we do?
Yeah, we'll just hang around and wait for the next one.
Right. So any final parting words on American Horror Story episode 5 there, Corey?
No, I got nothing, man.
Right. You want to see what Corey had to think about it? Hit up SlothBear35 on Twitter. He was live tweeting it, and we were live tweeting it from the Two Dads Review account as well. Not a lot of hashtags to search under because I was trying to write too much. I was just so mad. I was like, how many letters can I fit in this stupid thing? Because I got to say what I want to say.
Yeah, I was live tweeting. I mean, I don't think I totally ripped it apart, but I was honest of what was going on.
Right. I mean, in its own right, the episode was more of an American Horror Story episode than any of the other ones so far, really. Some gore, some twists, some turns, but we'd already picked them out way before, but the gore was nice at least.
Yes. Yeah, at least they stepped it up with the blood. That was a plus.
So, all right. So we'll wrap up American Horror Story. If you are here for both, this will jump right into the Star Trek Discovery Episode 3 review, which we are super excited for, as we always are. If you're just here for the American Horror Story section, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for not turning us off. Tweet at us at Two Dads Review. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and we'll do this again next week. And if it's a good episode next week, we'll say it's a good episode. We're not trying to find out what's wrong with the episodes. We're just asking the questions that we know all of you are asking. If you're true American Horror Story fans, you've got to be asking these same questions. And you have to be a little bit frustrated as well.
Yeah, you can't be happy with this season. Like, I mean, I was watching the Twitter and there was so many people like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, oh wow, geez. And all I could think was, is this the first time you've ever watched this show? Because that could be the only way you're excited about this season. If you've seen any other season, you cannot be excited about this season.
Right, and you definitely weren't listening to our podcast because we told you that reveal like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you didn't know that was going to happen. We guessed that shit a long time ago. So, all right, well, we will hit cut here, and we will jump right back into Star Trek right after the turn. So catch you guys in just a second. Hey, you stayed on or you jumped to where I told you to jump to after our little intro and plug. So welcome to the second half of the Two Dads Review podcast. And you are now ready and raring to go for the Star Trek Discovery episode 3 review and deep dive by the two dads. I have a few things to say before I start talking about the specifics of the episode. Corey, what did you think of the episode off the top of your head?
It was awesome. Like, I think honestly, after watching this show, I went, shit, man, I think this might be my new favorite show on TV.
That's a lot. That's saying a lot. Like, for especially me knowing you as long as I have, and if you're not just playing to the mic, that's a great statement.
No. Like, I'm into it. It's not just like, ooh, I'm hyping it up because I think people are gonna listen to the show more. I was watching it, and from being as far outside on the inside of the Star Trek universe as you possibly can, I was like, this is cool for me because it has no point of reference because it's supposedly the beginning.
Right. Or at least it's an unexplored section of the timeline we've not seen before. Correct.
So to me, it's cool. Like, I don't get all upset about the things that everybody's getting upset about. I don't care about any of the other stuff. It's just a good show.
It is.
So I'm like, I'm hooked, man. Like, you know, I'm going, hey, man, thanks for CBS All Access because that's the only way I can watch this.
Here's my login. I'm allowed 2 streaming at the same time for the cheap $6 price that I pay because I'm a cheap bastard. Okay, so as a Trekkie, I also am very, very impressed with this show, and I went on a little bit of a colorful rant last week with some select language towards some Trekkies who were very upset at the tone at which this show is taking. And if you were to go back and look at the first season of any new Star Trek show after the original series, fans shit on every single one of those shows the first season. It doesn't matter which one. Next Generation, I read an article on Reddit, there was someone had saved the newspaper article from 1987 or the season 1 after first episodes of ran, and people were like, this is the worst show ever. These characters this is not Kirk and Spock and blah, blah, blah. And so the haters were bound to happen.
That's going to happen. Yeah, you're right, man. Like, that's going to happen with any major anything. Like, if you and I became super popular out of nowhere, or we're in production for something and we just popped on the scene, I guarantee you, the first 80% of anything we looked at would be the world telling us how
much we suck,
god awful we are and don't belong in existence, and it's that's just there. It's easy to hate. People want to do the easy thing, and it's easy to hate. Right. Sorry. Going on one of my love everybody rants.
Right, exactly. And we all love over here. So, and a lot of the complaints that we heard of, and I tweeted these out when I was watching it or later on the next day, I don't remember, but they were mad at the touchscreens. They're mad at the technology. They're mad it didn't look like it didn't look like the original Enterprise. And this show and the writers and the people who research the canon and the people who are fans are writing this show. The guys who are writing the show know Star Trek in and out. And they wrote this show knowing the bitches and moans that would come from the fans, and they addressed them in this episode, in your face, without, it's not like they reshot something for this week because they're like, oh, everybody's getting mad about this, we'll go reshoot this. No, that was just in there. It wasn't like they had her re-record something and you didn't see her mouth when she said it, so I'll bring them up when we get to them at each point during this episode.
Yeah, it's like the people are acting like that the creators of this show and the writers that were delegated to write this show or asked to be part of the show, or however that works. I don't know, but they act like none of these people have a reference to Star Trek, or they're they're acting like the writers aren't fans. I feel like a show like this, the only way you can be a writer is to be a full-blown Trekkie nerd, in the nicest way possible.
Right. And the other biggest gripe that's not dealing with actions or with sets is that we're seeing a wartime Starfleet, which, as I went into last week, Starfleet is not a military entity. It has ships that have military capabilities or that have defense capabilities installed on the ships, but their main mission is not defense or offense. It's exploration. But we know of the Klingon War. This is not like they're delving into a war that never existed in the canon. It was always talked about. We never saw it. So we're getting to see a wartime Starfleet. And it's not like there haven't been wars on other series. The Maquis, when it comes to Voyager, the I knew I was going to blank on it, but the ones that DS9 is facing the whole time, and I cannot believe that I blanked, but I did. So someone tweet at me, tell me who it is. I'll figure it out halfway through the podcast and just yell it at you. But it's not like there haven't been wars. The Borg, the Next Generation, those wars. There have been wars.
Yeah, like I don't understand like what the big deal about that is. Is like they act like they're in a war, so why wouldn't a ship that is capable of wartime activities be part of it, especially if they're quote unquote the space police? Because when how do I explain this? If Starfleet wasn't territorial, they wouldn't give a shit and they wouldn't say there was borders. So the fact that they say there's borders, and even though they're a discovery entity, means that they are patrolling.
Well, and the fact that they don't the fact that they have ships that are equipped with. Go ahead.
I was just saying that they are patrolling like in a defensive manner. Like they are capable to take a brunt of weaponry because you don't know what you're going to run into out in space, out in these far depths. Like, so obviously, why wouldn't you have this? So now we know about this war. So of course you're going to have captains and obviously they're on the verge of some cool newfangled technology. And if you are in a war, this came from the higher ups. Like I know I know what he's doing is secret, but the war and the way the Starfleet is handled now came from whoever sits up at the top and says, okay, we just ran into a bunch of Klingons that are pissed off and that want to fight everybody. We're now on alert. So we're gonna fight if it happens.
And we're gonna win no matter what, and we're going to, if we're on the verge of certain scientific discoveries that will aid us in the war effort, then we are going to advance those as quickly as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes perfect sense. I don't understand why anyone is pissed off about that.
Right. It's literally how every country works during wartime ever. Like, this is how we've worked forever, and this is how we'll work into the future, because it's how you win a war.
Yeah, and I know they're all like, oh, well, they don't fight, but yeah, they don't fight when there's not a war.
Right. They don't pick fights. They don't go out and pick fights like other races do, but they definitely have
They don't go start them.
Right. Exactly. We don't fire. Starfleet doesn't fire first. Maybe they should start at certain times. I don't know. No, they shouldn't, but you know, it may have helped earlier. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. And there's a lot of stuff that really surprised me this episode, and I am super stoked about it. I love look, if you look at TV in the 90s and the turn of the century, and you look at TV now, like, a lot of shows expect more of their audience. And we as an audience expect more of a story for you to tell. I don't need to see episodic style TV all the time. You can give me, especially if you're only getting 15 episodes a season, you can give me an overarching story. If I want episodic TV, I will turn to the fantastic show, The Orville, because it is a great show. It is completely an homage of Star Trek style shows. It shows how much Seth MacFarlane loves Star Trek and wants to tell an episodic style show. And it is not to be compared with Discovery. It is not to be anything but seen as a fan of the Star Trek genre telling a story that is it's not a spoof, because he's trying to be serious. Every time Fox puts up a trailer or a preview commercial for Orville, at least they've started cutting back on the comedy. Yes, there is comedy elements because Seth MacFarlane is a funny son of a bitch. But go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking about it as you said it. I was like, yeah, man, I've watched half an episode briefly, kind of into it, and every trailer I've seen for it, though, makes that show look like it is a full-fledged space comedy.
And it's not. And Seth MacFarlane's not trying to play it that way, and Fox needs to quit selling it that way. They need to sell it as honestly, and it's sad to do this, do you really hate Discovery? Do you really wish you had episodic, Star Trek type episodes with a little bit of comedy thrown in to lighten the mood, and it's not taking itself super seriously? Then this is a show for you. And it is. And if you're listening to this podcast right now and you've not checked out The Orville, I ask you to go check it out. And yes, the pilot is a little bit rough, but they pick it. I mean, it does nothing but get better as the episodes go on. I think they're on episode 3 or 4 now, and it is great. It is a fantastic show. So just to go on a little bit of a side note, I think it's a great show. And I love them both. I love them both for completely different reasons and some of the same reasons.
Yeah, I know. Actually, the Orville has been added to my kind of must-watch list for me.
Near future.
Like the ones I don't have to watch with the wife.
Right,
so,
right, exactly.
Yeah, so this was like added to my hey, let's find a good show that I know I'll like, and if it's good, then I'll maybe introduce it to the wife.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's move on to our deep dive into episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery. The title of the episode is called Context is for Kings, which is great. It's actually gets spoken in the show, which doesn't happen but a handful of times throughout all of the Star Trek universe, that someone actually states the title of the episode in the episode itself. We find out
they did that. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, he says it at the very end. He just happens to say it. Lorca says it near the very end, but I read a trivia somewhere that it's only happened a handful of times in Star Trek TV shows that they've actually said the title in the show itself.
Nice.
Just a little. I am full of trivia, man. I've been all over the internet looking up trivia.
I can see that. Well, actually, I see it throughout the day since you and I pretty much talk all day.
That's exactly.
And then
correct.
we get on a podcast together to talk again.
Right, because we thought all y'all wanted to hear us talk. So that's welcome to our world. So we find out that we are 6 months later since the Battle of the Binary Stars. Michael Burnham, Commander, now Prisoner Burnham, is on a transport shuttle with 3 other prisoners who are going somewhere. We don't really know what their original destination was. And, there's some nice banter between the prisoners and, the other female prisoner on the transport. They say, well, here where we're going is mostly Andorians. And she's like, Andorians are cold in all the wrong places. And I do like the little bit of humor that they, Star Trek's always had a tiny bit of humor inserted. It's not like the Orville, not like where it's a large joke, but there is some good little quips that folks get in that I enjoy seeing. And that was one of I was just laughing. Andorians, by the way, if you don't know, are the blue ones with the antennas. In case you're wondering, I know you were just Googling what Andorians are, but,
I was like, at some point he needs to paint a description for me because
right.
I'm just like cold in all the wrong places.
Big blue heads, blonde hair, and 2 antennae on the top of their head.
Gotcha.
There you go. There's a picture for you. We find out that since the Battle of Binary Stars, or during it, the death count since the war started is 8,186. Michael knows that number very much so. And then we find out that there are some bugs on the outside of the ship, some life form that likes to eat power, and the pilot. So it's like the pilot's good. There's only one pilot. She's like, I'm gonna go.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna go hop in this EV suit and do this because I've done it a million times. And then there's like a shake, and you just see her just fly by a window, and It's like tether disconnects. I'm like, oh Jesus! I was like, does this happen all the time? Do folks just like floating around space in Starfleet? Like, oops, like you just sorry.
Yeah, like where was the guy that was testing out that thing before it went out into space? Because she just was like all nonchalant. Yeah, I got this, no problem. And then boop boop,
and just gone. Yeah. So you see, one of the first major tellings of Michael's mental state is when the rest of the prisoners see that this person, that the only pilot is now floating through space. They're all trying to escape, and she's very calm, and she is. You can see from the very beginning that she, over the past 6 months, has accepted her responsibility behind the war. She's accepted her fault for all of it, and she is at peace with, like, okay, good, I'm gonna die. Like, I can die now. I'm not gonna struggle to survive like the other folks in the ship are.
Yeah.
So the shuttle pod gets snatched up by a tractor beam, and we get this really long, cool reveal of the Discovery. This is the first time we see the Discovery, NCC 1031. We see it the first time, and it's a really, really angelic kind of reveal of the whole ship. You don't like the ship design? I'm watching you shake your head. You don't like it?
I'm not finished, man. Go ahead.
No.
Finish.
I was just telling you how I like the reveal.
Okay, like the ship looked cool. Okay, but the flyby, right? When they do the reveal of it, was I the only one that felt like, okay, here's the snooty me. I was the only one maybe watching this in 4K, and did it look like you could tell that was a miniature as it was flying by?
Well, I mean,
and that was the only thing I noticed about it. Like, I was just like, that would be a super awesome miniature. I was like, but I feel like I shouldn't tell that this is a miniature, or like the
it's
CGI.
Very
that
smooth. It's very smooth. It's almost so smooth that it's abnormal, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to harken back to the old school Enterprise, and those ships didn't have a lot of edges on them.
Oh, no, it was cool. Like, I just felt like when they, like, whatever camera they used to film this thing in was too goddamn good. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. it wasn't a knock on it. It was just like, hey man, that lens is just too good. I can tell that that's a miniature you're flying by. Like, you need to dumb down that camera lens a little bit.
Right. Or definitely you could have rendered it a little bit harsher. I think it's more CG than it is even a model. I doubt it's even a model.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, because I was like, man, if this is CGI, like, I feel like it's rough
compared to the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Part of me agrees. I think the attempt to make it smoother, like the old school Enterprise, may lend itself to looking a little under rendered. But you know, a couple things I do enjoy about the design of the ship. We've mentioned this before. The overall design of the ship is one of the throwaway designs of the original Enterprise back in the 60s when they were drawing out what they thought it should look like. And it's kind of cool that they use that image just because it's available to us. We know it was one of the ideas of the design. I think they even may have named it back in the day like a different style of ship. Me personally, I also believe that the center, in the center of the main saucer section, there's a ball, like the bridge and all that section, because the saucer section isn't whole. You have an outer ring, a middle ring, and then an inner ball that makes the center of the saucer section. That ball reminds me, Corey, you probably don't know this, but there was an original concept design of the Enterprise, and instead of being a flat saucer section, it had a ball as the top. And then it went on to what you normally remember the rest of the Enterprise looking like, pretty much. And I think there's a couple design elements of the Discovery that for us old school fans, like, oh man, it's cool, because they're kind of like, I see where that came from, I know where that came from, and it's like, you know, whether or not it's just fan service, or if you're saying that this design was used earlier, because I believe they went ahead and used that design as the ball style design, and said it was an earlier version of a ship. Of ships that Starfleet had back before the Enterprise. So you kind of see that different design elements. I just thought it was kind of cool. That's all. Just the ship overall, I'm okay with it. I know it went through a couple
of changes. The ship to me looks like a cool spaceship. Yep. I just was saying that the flyby looked a little weird. Like,
I'm not doubting,
and especially for. Go ahead. Rick.
I'm not hitting on what you're saying. I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but like me, only really knowing basically the one ship, which I think is probably the most famous ship out of.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Well, okay, so it'd be the one with Kirk.
The original Enterprise, okay.
Yeah, right. Like, you go ahead, man. Like, just, I don't know. I'll just start naming characters and you guess what I'm talking about.
Well, the original Enterprise, and then you have, and Next Generation was Enterprise D, and then there's all kinds of other stuff. But yes, the original.
Okay, yeah. The one with Picard is probably the ship I remember most.
Right, that's the Enterprise D.
Okay, so that's probably the ship I remember most, and I think this ship is cooler.
It's definitely like edgier. Yeah.
Yeah, like this ship to me looks like it more belongs in space. And it looks like it is the type of ship that would be in a wartime era ship. Like, so I like the ship. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I love the look of the ship. And the Enterprise D had its own things back in the day, but it was, a lot of things that all of the Star Trek shows fall into is that they're, you know, yes, it's a futuristic show, but they're very tied to their time they were made. So yes, there's definitely some Beatles and some 60s vibe, a lot of colors on the original series, and the Enterprise D for the Next Generation. It's in the 90s, and the computer era was just picking up. And if anybody remembers, back when every computer you bought was like that off-white color, like that's the entire Enterprise inside is freaking off-white. It's that color of every computer you bought in the 90s. And so you look at it now and you're like, oh, that's all they thought about was like computers are all off-white. They'll be off-white in the future too. This is going to stick forever. You know, so it lends itself to that. And then you get, as you progress, to DS9 and Voyager and then Enterprise, even though Enterprise went back before the original series, things got darker, got grayer, got grittier, got more, and pretty much, this is a whole different topic, which I'm not going to go into, but after 9/11, TV changed. Like, it wasn't like that happy Friends episode style TV, everything had its, after 9/11, things got dark and gritty, and that's all we've been. And it's been that way for a long time, and it's okay. Our culture changed. We weren't as safe as we were before. We didn't feel as safe. So the stuff that the things that we take in as entertainment, a utopian type world where things are okay, we know is not the case whatsoever, and it's not believable. So media shifts with the culture at which it's showing itself to. So all of these things are all products of things that happened after 9/11. It's all these shows, they got darker and things got deeper, and they we didn't get happy endings all the time, and movies didn't have happy endings, and things were cliffhangers, or things didn't resolve themselves because we're used to the real world not resolving itself. Boy, am I going down a rabbit hole. Whew, everybody wake up.
Hold on real quick. If you want to watch something that just sums up everything Clay just talked about, watch The Mist. Because the ending of that movie is so on point with real life that it is disturbing.
Right. Absolutely. And a fantastic movie, and a little Netflix plug, because they don't sponsor us either. Patrick Jane, the guy who plays the main character in The Mist is written by Stephen King. That's right. And he is going to be starring in 1922 on Netflix, which is a Netflix movie. I don't think it's a series. I think it's a movie. Either or. But Patrick Jane is starring in that, also based on a Stephen King short novella or something like that. I don't know. But it's coming out here shortly, I believe. I mean, maybe it's the first week of October 2017. It should be any week now, I believe. If you're over there in front of your computer, Corey, feel free to Google that while I'm going on to the next scene, because we've literally hit a half a scene of this show so far. Sorry, this is what dads do. We go off on tangents. You're stuck listening to it. Sorry. Feel free to try to fast forward it, but you're not going to get past it. So, all right. So let's move on while Corey Googles when 1922 drops on Netflix. So the shuttlecraft is picked up by the Discovery with the prisoners on it. They disembark in the shuttle bay, which I read somewhere was entirely CGI. They didn't even build it. They're just all standing in a green room. So, of all the sets they built, I think with the rendering of that shuttle bay, they said it was the most expensive set that they had, which wasn't even built. It was just all of the CGI it took to render it. I think on the after track they had as a trivia, which means I could have also read it wrong. So who knows? We find out, that it's a brand new ship. So Discovery. So at this time and place, the Enterprise exists in this world. It's been around for years, like a decade at least, I believe is the time frame, because Pike and before him. So the Enterprise has been around a while. The Discovery is brand new. Not a scratch on her. She is a brand new ship. We meet Commander Landry, who is the security officer for the Discovery, and complete lover of Lorca. We find out later, maybe not in the physical term, but she is definitely on. He could do no wrong in her eyes. And we get our first writers and showrunners knowing what the fans were going to complain about. So let me go with the complaint first. The complaint is nobody mutinies into Starfleet. Like, it's a utopian world. People have put aside personal belongings. They've put aside personal gain to a certain extent. They don't destroy others to get what they want type thing. And Commander Landry mentions she sees Michael Burnham there, and she says, "Oh, look, we have Starfleet's first mutineer." So right there, you know, we see that this is in her mind and in this storytelling that this is the first mutineer. So everybody who's complaining that no one mutinies, you're right, no one has up until this point. And then we have a mutineer for once. It happens. There have been people who have tried to mutiny a ship, but they've been like, you know, there was some mutiny type stuff on Enterprise. I think like the show Enterprise, but I don't think it was anything to the effect of like an actual successful mutiny. So I like seeing that. I like seeing that they as you said earlier, these are fans. They knew what the complaint was going to be with the way this show is going, and they saw it and they addressed it like the second line this lady says. Like, bam, you're the first mutineer for Starfleet. So just it's very impressive, the writing. And the way that they knew what was going to happen with the complaints. I believe. way to see where they're going to shit on you and head it off at the pass. Nicely done. They get escorted down to the mess hall to eat. On the way, we see that there are security type guards who are stationed at certain locations with black Starfleet badges on, which everybody's like, "Have you ever seen a black Starfleet badge?" They're like, "I have no clue what that is, but that's creepy." So that's cool. They didn't really give us any more information on that. When they get to the mess hall, Burnham sees some of the members from the crew of the Shenzhou, which really sucks. I believe she said Kayla, one of the girls who was at the helm, on the Shenzhou. She's there. She has a big implant on the side of her head. I'm not sure from an injury or if it's like a modification. I don't know.
I bet it's a modification.
More than likely. I do like how, because this is an older show before like the original series, when we saw the comm people on the Shenzhou, the comm people have a big head thing on as opposed to like the little thing in her ear that Uhura used to have. So it's kind of cool to see like how technology, you know, will change in the next, you know, 10 years or whatever. I thought it was kind of cool. So we get a nice, like, the mess hall scene. Everybody's all tense. It's all quiet. It's real awkward. She goes and sits at the prisoner table. And of course, what do prisoners do at mess halls? They want to fight. So, okay. Corey, did that guy even try to swing at her? Because his fist was barely in frame when she was like supposed to move out of the way. And like he missed that punch by like 18 inches.
Yeah, man, but she's also, she's special. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's almost got some Matrix-like abilities, I feel like. You know?
Sus Mana is the name of what she is using. It's pretty much Vulcan Krav Maga is what it is. It's Vulcan martial arts. Well, there
you go. If she's a master in Vulcan martial arts, I feel like whatever that guy is, he's not a master in anything.
No, he is not.
So an 18-inch gap, not really that far fetched.
Right, and she lets him have it too. She's not even messing around. And like right before she's about to Vulcan neck pinch the guy out, you know, Commander Landry's like, "The captain wants to see you." So she's like, "Really? I fight all these folks and now you jump in and like break it up? Thanks a lot."
Yeah.
So she heads to the bridge. Saru from the Shenzhou is on the bridge. We find out later on he's the first officer. She is escorted to the captain's ready room, and we get our first look at Captain Lorca, who, from the first look, he's got a tribble on his desk. So he is in possession of the only like non-pregnant tribble in the universe. So that thing's just going to stay all by itself over there, because usually they're already pregnant and they just end up multiplying. And there's a whole episode in the original series that you should check out. It's a classic, Corey. It's fantastic. But they multiply like crazy, like worse than rabbits. For some reason, he mentions a war injury that's happened that everywhere he has to have a gradual change in light. If he wants to keep his eyes, which he does, he says, so any room he enters has to start dark and then gradually get brighter, or his eyes will explode. I don't know. But, I'd like to know what's wrong with him and what injury it was. Or it could just be from, the type of travel they're trying to do as well. But it's only him. So I don't know. He has a war injury. We just know that. And he's like, I think it makes me seem mysterious. Like, you don't need any help. You don't need any help, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
We find out he's from a long line of fortune cookie makers. So he has fortune cookies like everywhere. And we also find out that her ship, or her shuttle that she was on from the prison as it was in transport, was diverted like halfway through the course. And we know that Lorca brought her to him on purpose. Like, him picking them up was not an accident. He definitely did that on purpose. Yeah, there was no, and he even alludes to that later on the episode, that us meeting was not an accident. So they finish their meeting and she gets escorted to her quarters, where we meet the fantastic Cadet Sylvia Tilly, the redhead who has special needs, and I use that in air quotes because I know what special needs are and what she lists are not special needs. She's allergic to like all the polyurethane and stuff that are in their normal stuff. She has like down pillows and everything. But the actress was on the After Trek episode. She's going to be the breath of fresh air for this really, really, really dark series, at least this first season. Like, she is like so bubbly. We find out she's a 4th year cadet. Just the way that the actress delivers her lines, she's like, I'm trying to decide if I should tell you that you took my bed. Like, you're on, like, get off my bed.
Yeah, dude, I love her. She is awesome.
And she's like, what's your name? She goes, Michael. She's like, well, I think I'll just call you Mickey. That's a lot more approachable. And she's like, no, you won't.
Yeah, seriously. She's like, no, not happening.
And even worse, she's like, that's weird. That's a funny name for a girl. The only girl that I know that's named Michael is the famous mutineer. Are you her?
Mm-hmm. And then she just stays quiet.
Right. And then we go to Black Alert, which all of us Trekkies are like, what's a Black Alert? Does anybody know like, we're Googling, like, what the fuck is a Black Alert? Like, I've never heard that in my life. And like, suddenly, like, water forms in the room just floating, and then it like encounters gravity and then disappears. And wasn't
that those electro things?
No, it wasn't. That was a process. Later on, we find out that is what did he say? It's the aftermath of this type of travel, or like the way that when they're doing the spore travel, it just makes the ship a little wet. That's all. I mean, it's just like, it gets a little damp inside. And that's how Lorca plays it off later on. So it's something to do with the spores and everything that we learned about later on.
Oh, okay.
So we find out that she is assigned to engineering. She's being escorted from her room to engineering. First officer Saru does it, and they get a nice little back and forth banter. He says something very interesting while they're walking the halls to get to engineering. He says that Discovery can handle 300 discrete scientific missions at a time. He didn't say 300 separate. He said 300 discrete. And I'm like, why did you say discrete? Like, and it just goes into like the mysterious, like there could be 300 scientific missions going on the ship, but not a damn one of them knows about the other one. Like, no one's telling anybody anything on the ship.
Yeah. Discovery seems like it's like a learning vessel that does black ops.
Yeah, no, it's more like black magic. Yeah, it's more like it's like Harry Potter almost. Like, it's like you just don't go in that wing of it. You don't get to go over there. That's sealed off. You don't get to go.
Yeah, you don't know the right spell to open that door.
Exactly. So what else happens as they're walking? And she even asks him, so this is a science vessel, and his answer is here's engineering. Like, he doesn't, so even and we know how on edge that guy lives his life, like on, spidey senses tingling at all times with that guy. So, you know, there's just, I love the mystery they're putting around. They're showing you so much of the ship, you know, the bridge and the ready room, and later on Lorca's little man cave he's got going. And, you know, but we don't know anything about what's going on in the ship. We've seen roughly the same number of sets we would see on any Star Trek, any season. You see engineering, you see the bridge, you see the ready room, you see quarters, and we would be okay with that. Except with this show, we know that those normal rooms we've always seen for decades, for 50 years, those are literally nothing compared to what is going on in this friggin' ship. There is crazy shit going on behind closed doors in this ship, and we know nothing what's going on yet.
Yeah, I feel like you get in the elevator and like you go to push a button and you can only push 1 through 3, and then there's one that says like Sector 4, Sector 5, Sector 6, and everyone's like, what are those sectors? And they're like, we don't talk about the sectors.
We don't push those buttons, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have the clearance. Don't worry about it.
And then he signs off to her with a line I had to write down, and he tells her that he still sees her as someone to fear, and then he says, you know, I want you to know that I will do a better job protecting my captain than you did yours. And I was like, oh man, sick burn, bro. I was like,
yeah, but I think like I don't think that was like so much of a burn. I think that was like him saying, you know, if you try anything, I will. Our friendship doesn't matter.
He definitely fears her. He may consider her. He does later on talk very nicely of her capabilities, but he does fear her. And something that one of the producers says is on After Trek stuck with me here. Your initial reaction to Saru may be that he's a coward. He's almost like a cowardly lion type character, but he's not. Like, he is definitely, his heightened senses and his heightened awareness of when death is imminent, I believe will pay dividends later on in this show. He's not a coward. He knows when he inherently, by his biology, by his makeup, knows when something is dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think he will play a large part later on. He's a great character, and it's cool that he's a species we've never met before, which is fun because you can just do anything with him.
Yeah.
So she gets into engineering. We learn that there's an entire section that is sealed by breath print, which, you know, I'm guessing that. So I guess, you know, eyes and fingerprints are not good enough, but your breath print's that's real secure. Somebody sold them on that security measure, which we see later on is easily beaten with a hairspray, or we know with a mister and some drool, you know. So
yeah, that was ridiculous. Like for this being a space show, man, that was like, come on, dude, come on.
Like, just go with an iris scan or a fingerprint scanner. Like, you don't have to go breath print. That's just like, what can we do that sounds like a cool way to lock something?
Yeah, right.
So, you know, she gets a very cold shoulder from everybody in engineering, or in this, you know, and I understand the mystery behind Discovery, but the answer, like one of the, you know, as she's asking questions, their answer is like, well, this is Discovery. Like, I understand using that right now, but if that becomes the answer for like everything, it's going to piss me the fuck off. Like, that doesn't get to be.
What do you mean?
She was like, we don't normally lock, you know, experiment bays. We don't normally do this. And the girl's like, well, this is Discovery. Like, just
gotcha.
I'm like, that's not a fucking answer. Like, that's an answer for this episode, and I'm okay with that. I'll give you that one, but you don't get it after this episode. Like, know.
I think that's going to be the answer until Michael knows what the hell's going on, which, I mean,
we know she finds out a lot of it, but there's still 8 miles of Discovery we don't know anything about. So that can't be the answer every time we go to a new section of the ship. Well, this is Discovery. No, fucking just show me. Show me how crazy it is. Show me how crazy Lorca is.
You know what? Open that damn door.
Right. Open that door, but not the one with the giant slug thing behind it. Don't open that door.
Yeah, keep that thing behind there.
Boy, we'll get there. We'll get there. That's fantastic. Yeah, I know. That was great. We'll get there. Let's see. So we meet Lieutenant Stamets. He's kind of a douchebag. He's very full of himself. And then we, you know,
but it's also justified a little bit because he's obviously outside of his friend that died, the smartest person on that ship.
Yes,
except for Michael. Except for Michael,
right?
Because Michael's the end all be all on this show. You know, she's the bar. Everyone else is below it. We got that.
Absolutely, and we watching the show know she's the main character, so we don't like it when folks don't like her. Even though we know everyone's supposed to hate her, she's a mutineer, and they don't know anything about her. So, you know, some of his stuff kind of comes off that way. So he assigns her, you know, some code review. And this is our second gripe and moan. And actually, this whole engineering set that we're in right now is really cool because, as I griped last week that there weren't switches and buttons, every single one of those panels, those people working on that room, has switches and buttons on it. Actual physical switches and buttons. And then he hands her a memory card. And if you're a fan of the original series, everything they did was conducted on a little, it's literally what 3.5 inch floppies were created after. Like, you know, a lot of things in Star Trek have come to be true in real life, cell phones.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
The little yellow card, he hands her a little yellow, this one's see-through because it looks cooler because it's 2017, it's fine. But it's literally the old school cards from the Enterprise. So I like that they are updating but keeping the certain parts of the technology from the original series, so fans will like back off a little bit. Back off, guys. There's switches, there's buttons, but there's also pop-up view screens that are hovering in midair. So are you taking pictures of me doing this? Like all my hand motions?
No, man. I was taking a picture of myself because I'm a good-looking dude.
Oh, great. They don't need to see that.
Yeah, they do, man. I want to get the word out that we're talking.
Nice. Yeah, that's why I never post on Instagram because I never take pictures while we're doing this. So only picture I take is like when I'm processing the show. That's all I get. So she runs her code. We also see Stamets talking to a guy by the name of Strahl, who we learn is on their sister ship, the USS Glenn, who is doing the same research. They give a quick backstory to give us some context of why Stamets is the way he is. Because truthfully, Stamets isn't just a dick to Burnham. He's a dick to everybody because he's a scientist at heart. He is Starfleet. He doesn't want to be at war. He wants to be exploring. He wants to be, you know, doing all this stuff, learning the ins and outs, the muscles that connect the inner, you know, the space, you know, that kind of stuff. The whole speech he goes on to in the shuttle later on.
Yeah.
But, Strahl is his partner, in studies and possibly, I don't know, I kind of got a little bit of I got more than like a friend. I got, like, you and I are friends. You and I don't talk to each other like that. I got a little bit of more than just normal friend banter from those two.
Yeah, no, they may have been in love with each other.
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
I got
but
that
there was definitely that guy was tore up. And I don't know if that was just because, hey man, that's been my friend and colleague and person that I've done the most things with in my life.
Forever and ever, yeah.
Yeah, or if it was like that was his lover or something, you know, and they're gone now, but for whatever reason he doesn't want to say that. I don't know.
Yeah, because it would, you know, who knows, demean their research, who knows. But you know what, it doesn't matter. If they were lovers, great. Good for you guys. I'm sorry you lost your lover and your research, you know, longtime friend. You didn't have to dance around it. If it was, I don't mind. I kind of got a feeling. But anyways, Strahl from the USS Glenn mentions something that this is another trivia thing that I pulled out of it. He says, you know, my name and your name is going to go on the Z Magnes Prize, which is pretty much, I wrote Space Nobel Prize, which is almost right, but it's what it is. It's the space equivalent. It's the, you know, United Federation of Planets equivalent of the Nobel Prize. And guys like, Dr. Daystrom and Dr. Ira Graves, both, one of them from the original series, one of them from Next Generation episodes, they both have also received that award. So it's kind of cool that they kind of name dropped that award in this thing. I had to Google it. It was cool. So anyways.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
She interrupts their conversation. They bail. She finds a code issue. She's trying to ask him more questions about it, and he's like, I'm not telling you anything, number cruncher, mutineer. Sorry.
He's like, get the fuck out of town with that question.
Yeah. So,
but go ahead, man.
No, that pretty much ends that scene. Then she runs and grabs a drool sample from her snoring roommate, and mists her way into the. I wouldn't call. I mean, it's kind of a hydroponics bay, but they're definitely growing like mushrooms and spore type things, plant life in that bay, and it's kind of just a cool, pretty shot. She's at awe at what's in there, and she's like, "This is, what am I looking at?" We learned that later on, after that scene, Lorca receives an above top secret message and comes to brief engineering, and the test that Strahl was telling Stamets about earlier on their call has, one of their black alert maneuvers. He was going for Spyrin 900, whatever that means. We don't know what that means, and Stamets is like, that's not possible. How are you doing that? On their phone call. Well, we learned that doing that, what they were trying for was a catastrophic failure, and there was an incident, and the entire crew was lost, which is not an incident. That's a goddamn screw up. Like, you're done. Like that, you just killed everybody on that ship. So Lorca tells them that they need to take a team over there to retrieve all the research. And then you see Stamets, who's already, physically or, emotionally messed up because his buddy / friend / maybe lover is dead. You see just how he's fed up with the captain. And he talks to him in a way that most captains would not let people talk to them. And he gets away with it slightly, probably because of what he's working on. He's invaluable now.
Yeah. And he knows that.
Yeah, he
definitely knows that.
It's always fun. Like it always happens. Like sometimes it's the doctor, sometimes it's somebody, but there's always somebody who knows they can say to the captain because I'm your only one on this ship, bro.
Yeah, dude, he's the subject matter expert, and he's like, hey, look, man, I may not be the guy that has the manager title or the captain title here on this, but I can pretty much do and say whatever the fuck I want because this project will go to shit if you get rid of me.
Exactly. Those are the best ones. Those are the best characters too.
Yeah, those are always nice.
The captain says, take Burnham with you. And he's like, okay, look, it's fine having her as a number cruncher, but come on. And then the captain turns to Saru and says, what's your analysis on the prisoner?
Yeah, give us your assessment.
Right. And what he says is so fantastic. He's like, mutiny aside, she's the smartest Starfleet officer I've ever met. And the captain's like, he looks at the engineer guy, he looks at Stamets, he goes, and he knows you, and walks away. And I was like, oh, you got the last word in, Captain.
I was like, damn, man, crushed you.
It's right. So, they head on a shuttle to head over to the Glen. Another trivia thing, because I love trivia and I know everybody's listening and wants to hear my trivia. This is now the earliest depiction of a warp capable shuttle. The original series did not show any of their shuttles traveling at warp. This one was definitely at warp, traveling to the Glen. So that was kind of cool. We get a nice long conversation with Tilly. We learned some more about Tilly. We learned that she was fast-tracked at the Academy. We also see that she's going to buddy up to Burnham because she's like, I think you can help me. She says, I was cold to you in the engineering bay earlier because I'm worried about how people, see me and will take me seriously. So it's just one of those, it was kind of cool to see that, they're going to be like buddy at the end of all this. We also, on the same shuttle, we have like random security guys standing in the back of the shuttle who were like, I'm like, oh, dude, are you wearing a red shirt? Do you have red on? Cause you are so dying. You're not making it through this show. Like, it's not going to happen. And then there's this smart fight, like brain fight between Burnham and Stamets on the shuttle where, she's trying to say, look, I recognize this in the code. You've said these things about spores and, these kind of, are we talking about physics or biology? And he's like, you're so stupid. That's, it's physics as biology. And they go through this whole, the spore thing and the muscles and sinews conversation. He talks more about his buddy who's dead and their research. And, he also goes into some portion about saying Starfleet's not a wartime entity. We're explorers. Like I've been made, we were split up, put on 2 ships so we can do, the same research twice the amount of time. So we'll do it faster. And it's the dumbest idea ever. You can just see how fed up Stamets is with everything.
Oh yeah, he's done.
So we head over to the Glen. They get to the Glen. Like the security dude's name is like Wazowski or something. Like it's got ski on the end. So it's like, you're so a red shirt, buddy. Like there is no way that you are not a red shirt.
Yeah, dude. At first I was like, was that a tribute to Wolfenstein?
Yeah, right. And once again, as with all futuristic things, flashlights in the future have more than one beam, makes it a futuristic flashlight. So, you got like a flashlight with 3 beams on it, like, oh, future flashlight. That's all right, it is. Dude. Gotta have 3 beams in the future.
That's all you need, man. Every time I use my flashlight in the house, I step into the future.
Yeah. And so this portion of the episode is where I am happy that this is a streaming show and it's not tied to what time of night you're showing it, what people are allowed to say, and what you're allowed to show. Because there were just fucking pools of people. Like that was some shit you're not showing on CBS at 9:00 at night, 8:00 at night when you'd air in Star Trek show. That's not for kids to see, man. That's gross. That was disturbing to say the least. and they're doing jump scares. Like they're doing something's running around. They're like, oh, what was that? What are we seeing? It was great. And,
yeah, dude, that thing was terrifying.
Yeah. And we'll definitely, and we'll get there in just a second. I did want to point out that we see that the Klingons had gotten there before them, but they were dead in a different fashion. And it's Tilly who hears the Klingon, the one live one. She's the one that says, you in the shadows come out. And I'm like, way to go, girl. Way to get out there and get him. And then he's like, shh. And Landry's like, did he just shush us? And then he just gets snatched. Like he just disappears and they're like, run. And they just take off. And it's just a foot race all the way to engineering. And of course, like we called, the red shirt bites it. He doesn't quite make it through the door and he gets snatched. So he's dead. And, they lock engineering. They're in the same general bay that they were in on that they normally work in on the Discovery. And, Stamets find his buddy. He's like, till he's busted down. They're all trying to cut through the door to get out, to get back to the shuttlecraft. Burnham's like, hey, give me a phaser. I'll take, prisoners don't get phasers. Well, I'm just going to try to piss it off. Just let me do it. And then, she gets to say, it comes to the door and she's like, hey, she's like, she shoots it and she's like, shit, that worked. And like takes off running. And then she's hauling ass through the Jeffries tube / vent area. And she starts quoting Alice in Wonderland, which plays into to the story later on. And then she lets him know where she's at and she drops through just as the thing's trying to get her. And she even does a cool superhero landing into the shuttle. And she's like, get out of here. They take off. So, it was a cool, jump scare kind of horror theme-esque, scene. I thought it was pretty awesome.
I thought the whole monster, like I want to talk about the monster.
Talk about him, baby. Talk about him.
Dude, like they put some effort into that thing because when that thing, like when he was like, shh, and then it just kind of comes out of nowhere, like you got enough detail to go, what? And then it disappeared, and now we got it. Like that monster was legit. Like it had that weird teeth mouth thing going on that you just weren't sure about. It had claws. It moved quick, and apparently it was quiet.
Like real quiet.
That to me is a badass monster.
Right. And definitely, why would you want to bring it back on your ship? but we'll get there later.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, it
and I don't know, but we got to talk about her dropping down the chute.
She's fine.
What?
I mean, it was only like 25 feet.
25 feet, man. Like, I know she was trained by the Vulcans, but damn, come on. Like, she's got some superpowers going on over there, dude, the way she moves, man. And I love her superhero landing. Whip the head up. Go!
Right.
You know?
It was very stylized, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what it was. Believable or not, with a human dropping that far, it's fine. I'm sure she learned it in her training.
Oh no, like I wasn't. The fall didn't bother me. It was how badass she did it. Like, that was cool. Like, I was trying to talk about how cool it was. She totally tricked that monster, got that thing like chasing her all in the vents and whatnot, and then she sets it up and drops out. I don't know how they captured it, but she's got everything.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it. I'm sure they went and got it later. Because they go later to scuttle the ship, so I'm sure they just transported the thing over later on.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. Yeah, what's his face went in there and
because he's got to have his thing, and I can't wait to get to that part in a second because there's some great trivia in there too. So the next scene, she's back on the bridge. She's talking to Saru real quick. You know, he's complimenting her as well as he can. You know, you were a good officer until you weren't. Type thing, and then Lorca asks her to join the Discovery crew. We can tell that she's like, look, I've accepted my place in life. I know I have a life sentence. I don't deserve this. And we find out that Lorca tells us that Starfleet has given him the discretion to fight the war however he sees fit. So they're banking a lot on what he can do, especially now that their sister ship is destroyed.
Yeah.
So we find out, or Michael, deducts that, what she thought earlier, the shuttle was her original shuttle was not brought here by accident. Burnham thinks that, she also thinks that what they're doing, because she doesn't understand it completely, she thinks it's a biological weapon. She even references the Geneva Protocols of 1928 and 2155, which for time frame, 2155 is when the original coalition of planets was being formed, which would be what would later become the United Federation of Planets. So you've got United Earth, Vulcan, the Andorian Empire, Rigel, Denobula, Cordian, and the Tellarites, all becoming this initial coalition of planets. So it makes sense that the Geneva Convention and the Geneva Protocols of 1928 would then be rewritten for space, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
I don't feel those standards would still apply.
Right. So, because it's just kind of cool that she mentions both of those, like 1928 and 2155. And so when she mentions the biological weapon, he goes, I bet you love to be right, but I bet you hate it even more to be wrong. And he takes her down to the same engineering bay, and actually he site to site transports her down there. And he's like, get in the box, and I can't believe that she just gets in the box, but okay. She gets in the box, and he explains the mycelium spores. He explains that what they're cultivating in the bay that she broke into, that he knows she broke into the bay. Like, so the breath print thing, like, even though it let her in, they know it wasn't Tilly that actually went in there. That's kind of funny that he's like, one of those captains who, I know what you did. Like, it's just funny that he threw it in her face that he knew she broke in.
Oh yeah, he was like, by the way, you're not as slick as you think you are.
You think you're slick, girl. You ain't slick, girl.
Yeah, don't underestimate me. I know some shit too.
Right. And so he tells her, look, we're not creating a new way to kill. We're creating a new way to fly. And he's talking about an organic propulsion system, which if you want to get real nerdy, I mean, beyond Star Trek nerd, this theory is based on a current theory. In fact, Paul Stamets, who is the name of the lead guy, the douchebag guy, that the scientist, that's the actual name of someone who currently is alive right now. And they even interviewed him on the After Trek show, and he believes all this spore travel, like this whole like spores over the universe thing. And like, he's a real character. You want to get deep into some craziness, go listen to that guy talk. So go watch the After Trek if you didn't watch it. It's a very interesting few minutes they talk to that guy. He actually did a TED Talk. So that's somewhere. You can go look his TED Talk up as well. They mentioned that on the After Trek as well. Cool. As she's in the box, he tells her, yes, black alert is when we're traveling this way. And, you know, the ship gets a little wet, but that's all. We're traveling. And he says that their ship has only been able to go, you know, so many kilometers, but the Glenn was going 90 light years into the Beta Quadrant in 1.3 seconds. And that's impressive even for warp travel. So Beta Quadrant, you're not just lollygagging out to the Beta Quadrant in Star Trek. Like Delta was hundreds of years away. Beta Quadrant is definitely weeks, if not months away at warp speed. So for them to be getting to the Beta Quadrant and back and traveling there in 1.3 seconds, that's insane. That whole ship is traveling that fast.
Well, especially if the whole ship is traveling that fast, and the way they showed how it really moves, like that's bonkers, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it definitely shows why those bodies look that way if it messes up in travel. You know, the way those bodies on that ship look.
Yeah, I wish everybody could see my face right now. Just all stretched apart, dude. I like how they actually took the time to have the dental work done properly.
Oh yeah,
on the guy's face.
Yep, that's gross. Yep, teeth are the worst. That reminds me of like The Thing, like Carpenter's The Thing, man. All the way. Yep. So he offers her a fortune cookie because the guy's got fortune cookies just falling out of his ass. Like that guy's just like he must crinkle when he walks. Like all the time, because that dude has fortune cookies everywhere.
Yeah, it was very funny. How he has fortune cookies. He's like, and I came from a long line of family members with the fortune cookies
makers. A bunch of white folk making fortune cookies. Yeah, that's I love it.
Yeah, dude, I was dying.
So Michael heads back to her quarters to kind of mull over this stuff, and Tilly's there, and she lets her know that she's staying. Or Tilly's glad that she's staying. And then she starts, you know, letting her walls down some. And she's like, I'm going to tell you something I don't tell anybody. Like, I'm going to be a captain one day. And it's more of her knowing, she knows, I know that before your mutiny, you're one of the best first officers that have ever served in Starfleet. And I want to learn from you. And it was going to get real deep. And then she like squirreled because like Michael pulled out a book, and she's like, is that a book? And I always love in Star Trek because at some point, like, books stop being made. So like when someone ever pulls out an old book, everybody's like, ooh, let me see it. Let me hold it. And
yeah, right. They were like, paper.
Right. It's crazy. So they, so she shows her the book, and then we get this great backstory. And I love that they during this, she talks about her Vulcan, you know, adoptive mother reading her this story, reading her and that lady's son, who we all know is who, Corey, who is.
I have no idea.
Come
honestly,
on,
I don't know, man. Her son.
She's raised. Okay, if it's Sarek's wife, and Michael is their adoptive daughter, who is their son? Who is Sarek and Amanda's son?
Spock?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
I'm so proud of you.
I was like, because he's half human, right?
I'm so proud of you. I'm like a father. I'm so proud of you. My son has, you know, learned to ride his bike. I'm so proud of you.
You're like, look at you making the connections.
Look at you doing that. Look at me laying it out for you. Yeah. So I like that they're giving us some of Spock's backstory without throwing it in our faces. It's just kind of cool. It just expands the universe even better of this whole, you know, the whole canon. And I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And then last scene, we're gonna wrap this up. According to the producer and some of the writers, the room that we are in when Lorca and Landry are watching them scuttle the Glenn with, you know, photon torpedoes blow it up. They call it Lorca's Menagerie. And it's a great name for that room because, you know, captains on ships, they have their ready room, they have their quarters that you see a lot of times, but they wanted, from what they said, I'm just going off what they said, they wanted Lorca to have something else as well to go like stew in, or to be his room. It's like a man cave, really.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is as that room is being revealed to the people watching the show, there's a lot of like little props that you're like, oh shit, that's a blank and that's a blank. And so one of them is there's a pile of like hairless rat looking things laying on a table. Those are Cardassian voles. And if you watch DS9, which you haven't, they're what ran through DS9 all the time, and they were just trying to kill them all. It's just literally space rats, but they're Cardassian voles. But even more importantly, and I'm going to ask you this, but I know you're probably not going to answer. What was the skeleton in that room? Do you know?
Oh God, I saw it, and I even said it.
I'll be so proud of you right now. I'm going to be so giddy if you know the answer.
Oh God, it was that stupid lizard. I can't remember the name.
You were absolutely correct.
Oh God, what is it called?
People are yelling at their phones, at their cars. They're yelling in the middle of a workout right now. It's a Gorn.
There we go.
Right,
God,
and
I even said it because I was looking it up. I looked it up, and I was like, "Holy shit!" There's a blah blah blah, and I looked it up.
Right. Now, what's even cooler? Excuse me. I'll just go ahead and cough on the mic for that one. What's even cooler is that we know that Kirk's interaction with the Gorn in the episode The Arena from the original series is the first time that Starfleet has encountered a Gorn officially. So for Lorca to have this skeleton means that he has obtained it from someone else, like another race that has met the Gorn before. So he collects these things. You know, this is this mythical alien that Starfleet's never seen before, but he's got a skeleton of one.
Yeah,
and that's kind of cool. He's
like the collector.
Absolutely. Oh, Marvel reference. That's crazy. We may have to pay them for that trademark. You never know. So it's a really cool room, and like I think of all the places that the crew could, or that the production crew could drop like, you know, fanboy stuff, because I love when they do this. I love being able to pick out when they do little stuff like that. I think it's fantastic. That'll be a great room to just keep dropping like little alien stuff. In fact, I think there was a dissected Tribble on a table somewhere, but I don't remember seeing it. But I remember seeing it like later on, like in the after track, they showed some behind the scenes stuff, and there was like, along with the voles, there was like a dissected Tribble, which we've already seen a Tribble before, so not a big deal. But and then the big reveal is that he has transported that slug beast bull thing onto the ship, and it's now in the ship, like behind a force field, you know, in a cage, and that will always go well.
Yeah, because we all know that any crazed animal locked in a cage is not going to get out.
Right. Not going to be released for some reason or another for plot purposes. Yeah. So, and that brought us to the end of episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery. And I can't get enough of this show. I think I like the new direction. I don't object to the new direction. I like seeing a wartime Starfleet. Wars have happened in Starfleet during the time that we have seen, we have heard about, we have witnessed other wars, and I love seeing that they go just as nuts as everybody else does. We have to win this. We are going to take the measures that we need to within, you know, certain parameters, but we're going to do everything we can to win this war. We're not just going to sit back and let it happen.
We're not going to let the Klingons just come rain terror upon everybody, you know?
Exactly. So, a great third episode, a great scene setting for the rest of the series. I did read, if everybody was wondering, the split is now going to be on the 9th episode as opposed to the 8th episode. So originally we were going to get 8 episodes. They were going to do a winter break and then come back in January. Now they've decided to split on episode 9. So that means we get one more before they do their break, which is cool. I'm fine with that. That's great. I read it somewhere, so you heard it here first. If you didn't read what I read earlier, I don't know. So, so that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what the two dads are going to do during the break. We may have some special guests. We may have we'll probably do some movie reviews for the Christmas time because there won't be any shows starting. But it'll be a fun ride throughout December. So we hope everybody stays on and tunes in for the entirety of the Christmas season on the Two Dads Review channel. So from me, thank you very much for listening to me dredge on endlessly about Star Trek, along with the cold and, illness my children have given me from the first few weeks of school.
Yeah, dude, because you have sounded...
It's getting worse.
A little rough. And I'm just now getting over my bronchitis and pneumonia that I got. So if that wet cough of yours keeps up, man, I ran across you a couple times. I wouldn't...
Yeah, don't get near me for the next week or so. You need to get over your stuff.
Would not put it past you that you may have bronchitis and you should go get that checked out.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
He's like, I don't go to the doctor.
Dads don't go to the doctor? What's going on with you? Yeah, if it doesn't cure itself in a couple of days, then I'll be like, can I please go to the doctor? I'm not good. This is not good.
He's like, I'm dying. This is killing me on the inside.
It's more just the kids and every other sick kid they lick when they go to school. That's what happens. Yep. It's the worst. So, well, everybody who stayed on for the entirety of our show, thank you very much. We appreciate every one of your listens every week. You guys are fantastic. Please share us around. Share us to your friends. Share us to your enemies. We don't care. Everybody can listen. It's fine. We're equal opportunity that way.
Oh yeah, guys. Please share it. Please let everybody know. Like, if you enjoy it, if you hate it, we hope you enjoy it, but it doesn't matter. Like, we just want you to share it. We'd like you to get out, and we really appreciate you guys keep coming back. We're watching the numbers. They're steadily going up. So we're doing something right, and we're proud of it. And we thank you guys for coming out and watching us, or not watching us, listening to us every time.
Yeah, maybe if enough of you listen to us, we'll start letting you watch us. You never know. We are pretty amazing to watch. I can't back that up at all.
No one can back that up. We should probably end this and go away before we start saying any more things that we can't validate.
Very true. See you guys next week.
All right, guys, take care.